Good morning. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome back to Random Crafty Acts, or welcome to Random Crafty Acts if you haven't been here before. My name is Barb. I am obsessed with paper crafting, and I am into mask making right now. So when I'm into mask making, the first place I turn typically is looking online for some kind of a template that will allow me to create multiple cards without creating a lot of pattern paper scraps. And my go-to person is Jess Crafts, and you'll find a link to hers below. This is her 8.5 by 11 paper busting template number 2. 8.5 by 11 paper with pattern on it is something that you often find at stores like Hobby Lobby or Michael's or Joann's, if you're still somewhere where there's a Joann's. I think maybe most of those has closed. You either find 8.5 by 11 in those kinds of places where you can buy them in single sheets, or you'll find 12 by 12s, which is standard for scrapbooking. So in this case, during some wild buying spree, I bought a whole bunch of 8.5 by 11, and that's what I'm trying to work my way through. All right, so in this particular template, what I do is I look first at how the card is going to be set up. And here you're going to have a 3 by 4.25, which is just a square, and we're going to put a mat around that. And then you're going to have a strip in the background, okay? And on the side, I had written non-directional paper. And what that basically means is you want paper that doesn't have a pattern to it that will look funny if it's shifted the wrong direction. Now, this particular pattern is probably going to look the best if it's this way, okay? And that would have an effect on how the paper is cut, but I don't think it looks awful cut this direction either, because some of the things go this way. So I'm planning on using this, a combination of this and this, for these pieces in here. Okay, so we'll just see how it turns out. So I'm going to start by cutting. And I have two cutting platforms. I have this one, my Fiskars, which works well with my when I have to turn it this way, and my smaller guillotine printer when I have to turn it this way. Okay, so let's just kind of move the paper out of the way. I keep my template close by because even though at this very moment I know it's 3 by 4.25, I'm just as likely to forget that here shortly if I start thinking about something else. Okay, so the other thing you always do when you're looking at a cutting template is you look at where the lines go from one edge all the way through to the other. So, for example, this line works here and here, but you can't cut down, can't like take this and cut this way, because otherwise it would cut those in half. Okay, so these are 3-inch strips this way. So that's what I'm going to start with, is cutting. I'm going to cut the 4.25 first. So that's right there. Okay, this paper is very thin. It's almost copy paper weight. It's not the usual okay, that did all right. I'll have to clip that edge with my scissors, which are obviously not where I need them. Okay. Yeah, I usually use like something that's closer to a 65-pound weight paper. Okay, so we have the two strips at 4¼ by 3. So this is so thin, I'm going to cut both of these at the same time. Now, keep in mind that normally, if this was non-directional paper, it would not make a difference that you're going to turn it this way to cut it, because it's going to go, because of the direction, it's going to end up over here. So let's just see how this works. Okay, so that's 4¼ and then we're going to cut 3 inches. Okay, put that at 3, and then we're going to cut another one at 3 inches. Okay, all right, so these are going to go this way, so that doesn't look too bad. Okay, so now these need to be 5. So it looks like they measure right at 5. Okay, and they need to be, that's 2.125, which is 2 1/8. And I'll have you know that I know that because I have it on a chart over here. I make no attempt to remember anything that's math-wise. So that's 2 1/8. And this should be right at 2 1/8 as well. Okay, and these little smidgens on the side a lot of times make no difference unless you're putting things on mats, okay? So these will go here. All right, now I'm going to cut this piece the same way, and it's because I want to mix these. All right, so it worked pretty well. We're going to cut it 4 1/4. Jess has great videos that go along with these templates, and you can find her stuff, find all these things on her web page, which you will be able to get to. That's that same little nibbin that just didn't quite cut. On her web page, and like I said, the links for that will be below. She also, on her page, she donates the majority of her cards, and so she's got a great resource page that will give you instructions and information on a lot of donating sites. Okay, and so I'm thinking that, you know, you can take one of these, and when we put them on mats, and put one of these, or vice versa, okay? And so then these are 2 1/8. I really like her videos. And then she does a lot of things. A lot of hers are for kids, so she's got some great information on different sites where you can donate cards that will end up being for kids. Okay, all right, so I'm going to put those up there. I'm going to reach over here and work with our color cardstock. So, okay, so the mats need to be 3 1/4 by 4 1/2. So I'm going to cut this at 4 1/2. Is that what I want to do? I think so. Okay, and then this piece is not 4 1/2, so, and then this is 3 1/4. I'm trying to like maximize my color cardstock, especially since in this case, this is the only 2 sheets of this particular color that I appear to have. And we'll leave that to the side, so that's 3. So then this is, you know, I don't usually do public math. This is 4. And the long pieces need to be 5, so that's not going to work. So if I do 4 1/4, 4 1/2 this way, and then it needs to be 3 1/4. Excuse me. All right, and so these need to be 5 1/4. $375 is, it's 2.375 is 3/8. So that's this right here. That's 2 3/8. I'm glad I saw that. So this is why I keep the keep everything close. Okay. All right. So I have 4 of these for that. Let's try cutting it this way. I am sure there is a way to do the math for this, but that's just not me. So let's try 3 1/4 this way, and then 4 1/2. And again, that's a useless piece. I'm going to be short. Okay, I think I've got an idea on how to do that. That's 3 1/4, 4 1/2. I can hear all you math people out there going, if you would do this, it would work. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, I'm going to pause the video here and see if I can find another piece of this paper. Okay, I did find one more sheet. I've got a lighting problem kind of in the area where I keep my paper. So, okay, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, so this was 4 1/2. Okay, so 3, I'm going to do the 3 1/4 and the 4 1/2. Okay, so that's 8 for the big pieces. Now, let's see how many of these we can get out of this. So 2 3/8. Two 3/8 would be right there, and then 2 3/8, and then 2 3/8. Okay, and what we only ended up with there was 1. So 5 1/4. So that's 4. Not enough. I think I know what I'm going to do about that. Okay, all right, so we're going to get creative here. All right, let's start by putting something together. One of the things I had decided, let me get all my pieces over here. I know that because of the way I've moved my camera, some of this is off screen, off frame for you. So, okay, this is a 4 1/8 by 5 3/8, and that's something that I commonly do. What I'm going to do is, since 4 of these, this will go here, and it's got the black around it, then this will go here, and this will go here. So we're going to do 4 of them that way since I don't have enough. There's not another sheet of this up there. Okay, so that's how I'm going to do those. So let's just go ahead and put one of those together. And this is, I use Barely Arts glue. It works really well for me. And I want to leave a pretty hefty margin around there. Obviously I didn't get enough glue there, so we'll just slide that in there. Okay. This way when we get done, we'll have 8 cards. And we'll be able to figure out what we want to do about a sentiment at some point. We don't have to do a sentiment just yet. I'm doing a donation box that typically has 200 cards in it, so I don't have to make that decision just yet. Okay, and then this goes on the front. This is an A2 card at 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, and so if you do this, see, you get just that nice little edge right around it. And I use a wet glue because it gives me what is called a little wiggle room. All right, so one of them will look like this. Okay, and then, because you don't need to watch me make all 8 of these. Okay. And again, I'll put Jess Crafts link in the description, and if you do mask making, I would strongly suggest that you take a look at her page. The majority of her templates are free. And also the other part of that is that you can go over to her Etsy shop and buy a bundle of them if you decide you don't feel like having to print them out one by one. I have them, I've bought them both ways. I've done both things, and I have a binder with all of hers in, and she does 8 1/2 by 11, 6 by 6, 12 by 12, what's called A2 size, which I think is a paper that scrapbook.com sells. Okay, so now this is the other thing about this. Notice that, I don't know if you can see, but this is just a little bit off. Oh, I see. That's because she really did fit this to a so that it would go all the way across there. I think there's something wrong with, yes, there's something wrong with this. Okay, let's see what we can correct. All right, I mean, I could stop and try to edit this out, but things like this happen, so let's see what we did when I cut this. Okay, so this is 4 1/8, and this is 5 1/8 instead of 5 3/8. So since this is 4 1/8, I'm going to cut it down to 4. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is cut these little edges off so that it lines up exactly with the mat. Okay. Okay. I'm going to cut this down to 4. Okay. And then I'm going to look to see how it looks on here. I think that looks better. Okay. And then we put this on here. and this is not quite as balanced as I'm used to seeing it, but obviously what I must have done was cut a bunch of those, the 4 1/8 by 5 3/8, and I had something left over, and I put it in the wrong stack, so that's okay. Okay, but notice that, I mean, you don't like have to rip it apart, and you just kind of try to adjust. Okay, and then one of the things I had planned on doing was this, and so we'll just go ahead and do that on this one. These are circles that I cut out on my silhouette. This is, I think, 1 3/4 circle and a 2-inch circle, and the black matches the black on the background, and it also picks up the black in the paper here. Okay, all right, and we'll do one more, since this is actually 4 1/8 by 5 3/8. I want to see how this looks with this, since that was my intention to begin with, and make sure that I have my air conditioning on, because it's July and it's really, really hot outside. We're in Illinois and we're under some kind of a heat advisory thing. So the ink, I always call that ink, the glue is drying out. Okay, yeah, see the difference? See how that shows there? I like that. Okay, and I don't worry about this. The Barely Arts glue dries clear, so if it gets a little smidge on something, I don't really worry about that. But again, I'm much more concerned about, with this glue, of making sure I have some wiggle room. Okay. All right, so in this video, we've set ourselves up to make 8 cards. We used 2 pieces of 8.5 by 11 paper. We cut them the same, following the template, and then mixed and matched the patterns. Okay, we used 3 pieces of color cardstock. We added, to the template, we added a back mat of 4 1/8 by 5 3/8. Okay, and these should look the same here as the others. Even though the paper that we started with here is technically not non-directional paper, that would be something you'd want to kind of keep an eye on when you're making your paper choices for this particular template. Okay, right. All right, so we'll have 4 of these and 4 of these. And I'm gonna go ahead and pause and finish them up real quick. Okay, I'm finishing up. I was working assembly line style, so I'm going to set these over here. So a couple of things to notice. One of the things is, with the right color combination, you could get by without a mat behind this one if you use the back mat. If you cut your 5 3/8, if you start by turning your big piece of paper landscape wise and cut it this way, similar to the way you can cut your get 2 A2 size cards out of a piece of 8.5 by 11. If you do it that way, you can get 4 of the these the black mats at the back, and I refer to them as Black tends to be the color that I use, mostly because, I mean, otherwise I have to really not worry, I guess I don't have to, but otherwise I get really concerned about getting all the colors to match. And I don't have that much color, well, that's not true, I have a lot of color cardstock, but getting color cardstock that's the exact right colors is often a challenge. So, all right, so I'm going to put these here. Okay, so then 2, 3, 4, 5. All right, so we're going to dash these out here. You can cut these circles with a punch. Okay. I have a silhouette, which is like a Cricut, so I program mine to do this, and I get 12 of these 2-inch ones out of one piece of 8.5 by 11 cardstock. And again, black is one of the more common colors. I do these on the silhouette in the same way. You could cut this with a paper punch. The punches look like this, or like this. This is the two styles that most of them come in. They're available either online or at most craft stores. Being able to use a punch works really well if you've got a bunch of color cardstock scraps that like are just big enough to get a 2-inch circle out of. And if you can do that, then you've maximized the use of your color cardstock. The assembly line portion of this, where I had it paused, took me about 15 minutes. One of the things to look at when you're mass making is how much time do you have, and how much effort do you want to go through. I mean, this is an extremely simple card. It still looks nice. For the places I don't donate to, this will work just fine. The particular places I donate to like them to be blank on the inside, but it would be very easy to go in with a stamp of some sort to embellish the inside. And last one. So obviously I keep a lot of these made up ahead of time. One of the places I donate to, this is one of the phrases that one of the sentiments that they like. Okay. All right, so we have 4 of each having been cut out of that particular template, and swapping the papers out, which is one of the ways to get some slightly different cards and maximize your number of cards you can come up with. Okay, thank you for being here, and keep checking back. If you have time, it would be great if you would click on the subscribe. That does help me push this out. I'm really looking for beginning card makers, people who are looking for places to donate cards, and so if you would hit subscribe, that would help. Thank you.